Let's talk about the top 10 slashers of the 2020s so far up to this point. And as the only caveat, as my list before, you only get one movie per franchise in here. So let's start it off with number 10, which is Vicious Fun. This is a Shudder original, a movie that we didn't expect to be that great, and it turned out to be a lot of fun. There's some good brutality in it, some good kills, and it is a good horror comedy. So know that going in that it does have its funny parts in it, and this is kind of where a guy stumbles across a group of people who are kind of talking about all the bad stuff they do, and then some hijinks ensues, and we get some good slasher fun. Number 9, Fear Farm. This is a movie about a group of kids who go to a cornfield maze type setup for horror fun stuff, and they get picked to be part of a special group because of what guest number they are, and they get to go on a special trip where there's a maze that they get to be a part of that nobody else does based on their spot of what they got, and if they complete it they win a ton of money. You can kind of guess what happens from here, but there is a nice twist that happens later in the movie that kind of you don't see coming, and they do kind of go there for it. So therefore, it does get there. We do see multiple different types of killers in this as well, being that they're hiding in a corn maze, but it's a lot of fun. Number 8, The Blackening, a horror comedy made for all black people with an all black cast that us white people are not supposed to enjoy. But it is a lot of fun. There is some good humor in there. They do poke fun at all of the good horror tropes that were set in place for all those years ago. They make commentary on black culture these days, and it's just a riot throughout the entire film. Plus, you do get some actual good slasher elements in there as well. And then the poking fun of who's going to survive. Because the black person never survives a horror movie. So do they? If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It is a fun movie. Good time. Number 7. This one I'm cheating on a little bit, but I'm going to put in the Fear Street trilogy. And I'm doing that because you do get multiple slasher killers throughout multiple movies here, and they take place at different times. Like the first one came out, kind of reminded you of a Scream-esque type movie, and the second one that came out was more like a Friday the 13th type movie, and then the third one kind of I maybe like The Witch in a sense because it does kind of play a period piece at the time, but all in all, you get a lot of the same cast playing themselves in different roles or the same roles in different parts of the movies because they do intertwine into one big story. But it's just an overall fun setup. Lots of good bloody, gory deaths, great special effects, tons of horror tropes based on the year in which the movies came out, technically. It's just overall a very good movie. Set of movies. Number 6. This one is going to be Totally Killer. The movie that rips off going back in time to change what happened and make things better. Or do they make things worse? That's a Back to the Future type movie. And it is just overall fun. It never gets boring. There's not a dull moment. There is good comedy in it. There's a good heartfelt story in it. Some of the kills are really awesome that are in it. And it just kind of brings you back. When she goes back in time, if you were a kid in this time frame, like it's nostalgia, it does bring you back to what you would expect to see in that same time frame. But overall, good story and a good use of the premise. And this is the time frame when a bunch of movies started to use things that were from back in the day type movies that haven't been used really in horror. Another one that was like this was It's a Wonderful Knife, plays on the It's a Wonderful Life story. And then another one that's going to be up at a few more. Number 5, In a Violent Nature. Literally, I'm going to put this one on here if you haven't seen it just because it's completely different. It's the one movie where you follow the killer like you're behind him, walking with him through the woods everywhere as he goes for the whole film, except for like the last 10 minutes. But it's a different approach to a horror movie. The titular killer here is pretty iconic. He has a great look, great use of weapons that he has. And it's just one of those movies where it kind of knows what it is and it plays into it. Like, you're going to watch this guy walk through the woods for a good hour of this movie total. And some of the kills are going to be very drawn out, kind of long, but it still kind of gives it that tension and makes it fun. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It came out last year and it has one of, if not the best kills of the last decade when it comes to a horror movie. So for that reason alone, should check it out. Number 4, and I'm just going to say insert here your favorite of the trilogy. Mine, Pearl. I thought Pearl was the best out of the trilogy between X-Pearl and Maxine. It's the one that's the most fun. It's the one that tames back in time, kind of reminds me of one of my favorite movies growing up, which was Wizard of Oz. It kind of has a lot of that brightful, gleeful, but then dark, tonal stuff. It just has its ways about it, and it's just very good. Mia Goth in this whole trilogy does a really good job, but if you missed one of them, just watch them all. They're all really good, but Pearl to me was the best. Number 3, using the old tropes from back in the day comedies to use as a horror movie now, Freaky. Freaky is the movie where a serial killer man is using a dagger, goes to stab a girl, and somehow they switch bodies. And now the serial killer is in a blonde, skinny teenage girl's body. And the girl is in the body of Vince Vaughn. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of gore. There's some really awesome kills. And then the acting for both leads in this movie do a really good job. The girl when she's just a girl, and then when she has to play this hulking serial killer maniac type, does a great job. And then Vince Vaughn as a bad guy does a really good job. And then when he has to play a teenage girl in his body, he does a hilarious job with that as well. So overall, it's just a really, really good movie. Lots of comedy, lots of horror, blood and gore. Everything in it is really good. Number 2 was the long-awaited fake movie became real movie, and that's a holiday classic now, Thanksgiving. You can't really get better than the movie Thanksgiving, right? It's a lot of fun. It has a whodunit type killer, kind of reminding you of the Scream movies. It still has kind of the horror comedy of like a Scream movie, some good slasher kills, some fun spots, and it even has some spots that go where you wouldn't expect them to go. I don't want to give too much away in case you didn't watch it yet. I think it's still on Netflix, but I would say check it out. But number one, if you watch my channel before, you would know what this one's going to be. But I had to choose because there's 2 awesome options here, and I went with Terrifier 2. I think Terrifier 2 is the best of the trilogy up to this point. It is also the longest, and it is the bloodiest, and the goriest, mainly because of the time frame. But you have some awesome kills. You get Art the Clown, which has done fantastic acting. In this one, you get Sierra, where she is doing an awesome job. That whole introduction of her to this movie brings it so much more life to it. And the story that expands from the first one, which doesn't really have much of a story, in this one, it actually gives it a lot of story, and it gives the first movie story, so building on what the first one did. And it kind of shows you that, buckle up, you're getting ready for a big, giant, episodic type franchise here. And the last time that's been done, never in horror have we ever had an episodic story where you get multiple movies that kind of all flow together, helping tell the story. And I think that's what makes it awesome. A lot of people just worry about the blood and the gore because he's so graphic, but that is part of it, but that is not all of it. There's a lot more meat on the bone to chew than that. That's my list, the top 10. Let me know what you guys like down below in the comments. And if you didn't check out my other videos, I still have the 2010s, 2000s, 90s, 80s. What are you doing? Get to it.